for the people that don't know much about Ra in the background, how did the channeling came about? And maybe we can start with that.
Well, the original effort by Don Elkins, who was the questioner for the Ra contact, began in the channeling phase way back in 1961. And he first met Carla Rueckert, who was eventually the instrument or channel for the Ra contact at that time. He was a physics professor, and he was conducting an experiment on his own time with some of his students to see if they could receive spiritually oriented information from a group mind or a planetary mind called Haton from the fourth density. And the fourth density is the next place where we're going right now on Earth, supposedly. So this experiment began then, and he and Carla got together in 1968 and decided to work together and continued to channel those of Haton. And in 1974, Carla began to channel. By that time, all the members of the original group the students had moved out of town, graduated, and got jobs and gone elsewhere. So Don asked Carla if she would be willing to learn how to channel. And she said, okay, sure, I'll give it a try. And it turned out she had a talent for it. So for the next few years, they moved on from Haton, which was basic introductory information. And it talked about the one great original thought, or the creator of this universe had made it in order that it might know itself more completely, more intensely, with greater variety, by all the experiences that we have in our own lives throughout all of our progression through the various dimensions that exist beyond the one we're in now. So whatever we do to learn more about ourselves and more about the Creator's also learning at the same time. So eventually, in 1977, I believe, they began channeling La Tui, which was another group mind, a planetary mind, but in the fifth density. This was intermediate information. So they were still channeling those of Haton from the fourth density. And then with La Tui, the fifth density, when I first heard about them in 1979, I was living in central Kentucky, and I started driving up to Louisville every weekend for their channeling meditations, and they invited me to join their group. And I was very excited to do that. So in December of 1980, December 23rd, I joined them. And 3 weeks after I joined them, the Ra contact began unexpectedly. Carla and Don were teaching another student from the Sunday night meditation how to channel, how to do conscious channeling. And I was out shopping for groceries for the first session. And so those of Ra spoke through Carla to begin with, and they were totally surprised. But when I got back, Don said, this is the contact we've been waiting 19 years for. Could you please transcribe this as soon as possible? So it turned out that Ra was from the sixth density. So Haton been the fourth density of love. La Tui was the fifth density of wisdom. And Ra is from the sixth density of unity, the blending of love and wisdom. So Ra was apparently from the planet Venus originally. And they became associated with the Egyptians, who worshiped Ra as the god of the sun. And that was an unfortunate situation that occurred when Ra felt that the Egyptians 11,000 years ago were ready to receive information concerning the law of one, because they were in a state of what is called pantheism. They saw that the intelligent life, the creator, was everywhere. And that was close enough to the truth, a distortion or a variation of the truth, for those of Ra to begin to speak to the Egyptians and to walk among them, to try to teach the law of one in purpose. But the Egyptians saw that Ra was quite different. They saw that they could do things that they couldn't do themselves. They felt that they were very wise, that they were gods. And so Ra felt that was not an appropriate way to be viewed, because they felt that all is one. That is the basic philosophy of the law of one. We are all one being. We all contain the Creator within us. And so Ra had to take their leave of the Egyptians and try to figure out how to balance what they felt were distortions or changes in the law of one that the Egyptians caused by their worshiping of those of Ra. So they had various other interactions with the Egyptians back 3,300 years ago, Akhenaten was the pharaoh in the 18th dynasty that decreed the law of one for the Egyptians. For as long as he was alive, the priests and the people gave lip service to it. When he died, they went right back to worshiping many gods. So Ra continued to look for other ways to balance what they felt responsible for of the distortions of the law of one, and eventually they came upon our group back in 1981 and hoped that they might be able to continue that process of balancing those distortions and sharing the law of one and helping our spiritual evolution as we move into what I was talking about as a fourth density. So that's a basic background as to who Ra is and how they got in touch with us.
The ancient depiction of Ra, is it usually with a bird head or something? Like, is it accurate? Or is it a helmet they put on? Like, was there any talk of that? I feel like I'm done in the actual process right now, because this certain question is not like it makes that much difference to humanity and where we're going, but you're just curious about it.
Well, the Horus, the hawk-headed god of the sun, came before Ra.
Okay.
And the Egyptians and other entities on Earth in South America and in Atlantis also worshiped the sun because they saw it as the source of all life. All life on Earth comes from the sun. The energy of the rays of the sun gives us life, and it gives our planet life. So I'm not sure exactly how they got the hawk associated with it, but their particular god before Ra was Horus. And because it was connected with the sun, and Ra had at one point, after they had gone through their experience of the third density, which is what we're on here now on Earth, when they'd finished that on Venus and gone through the fourth density and the fifth density and entered the sixth density, they left Venus and went to the sun, where they actually existed. And according to those of Ra, the way of what we would call sexual reproduction is conceived of in the sixth density is fusion, is producing what we see as light of the sun. So apparently any entities from the fourth, fifth, or sixth density can go to the sun and partake in that ability to create part of the life-giving light of the sun. So when the Egyptians worshiped those of Horus, the hawk-headed god of the sun, that was close enough to their own vibrations of the sun itself that was another reason they felt that the Egyptians were available and could learn more of the law of one.